What's an elegant and manageable way to keep track of all these variables? The solution is to start animating with sprites. Think of a sprite like a character that lives inside your animations. At first, a sprite will pretty much just be a rectangle. But the beauty of a sprite is what it has going on behind the scenes. When you make a sprite, it comes with properties, which are variables that store the characteristics of a sprite. Properties describe things like where the sprite's located on the screen, what it looks like, and what color it is. To create a new sprite, use the create sprite command. You can assign your sprite a label just like you would a variable. This code is creating a new sprite and giving it the label MySprite, but you can label it anything you'd like. Just like shapes, sprites need to be drawn to the screen. Use the Draw Sprites command to see your sprite appear in the display area. You can control a sprite's properties in your program by using dot notation. First, connect the label of the sprite to the label of the property with a dot. Now you can use this just like a variable. So for example, mysprite.x gets 200 will update the sprite's x location to 200, and mysprite.width gets 50 will update the sprite's width to 50. The next time you call draw sprites, these new property values will be used to draw the sprite. Sprites can have tons of properties. As you get familiar with them, they'll give you powerful controls over what your sprites look like and can do.
All right, so we've got this going on here. So we've got all of these different questions to consider. What is a sprite? So a sprite is going to be an object, okay? Either a shape or an image or a picture, something that we want to, a lot of times it's going to be like a character, okay? What are the properties that the sprite can have? Okay, any of the ones that we've already controlled, X, Y, width, height, but also some other ones on there that we haven't used yet, scale, rotation, velocity, all of those different things that we can control and we will use later on. And then what problem do sprites solve? They solve the problem of creating an object and then being able to edit it very easily, okay? And not only that, but instead of so the first thing that we're going to notice here in this next level, so go ahead and press continue, okay? One of the very first things that we're going to notice after we get past this level is that when we create a sprite, it's always going to create that sprite at the X and Y coordinate of the very center of the sprite wherever we pick, okay? What shape did we create last class that it didn't choose it? It didn't put that shape in the very center. Instead, it used the very top left point of that shape to place it. No, which one's the very top left? The square, right? Our rectangle shape is going to be placed on the X and Y coordinate that we give, and it's going to place it on the top left. If we use sprites, it's always the middle. Whether we use a rectangle or a triangle, a polygon, a circle, it's always going to use the X and Y coordinate of the very center of that object, which is very convenient because we don't have to memorize then where all of our shapes are getting put, okay? So you can create a new sprite using the create sprite block, okay? And then what we're going to do is, as it's drawn on the screen, in this case, our sprite is located at 200, 200, which is the very center of the screen, and it has been assigned the animation of bunny, okay? That's all right here. The create sprite block, which creates a new sprite at 200, 200, and assigns it to the variable named myBunny, right here on line 1. Note that just creating that sprite doesn't yet draw it on the screen. That happens later. So this is just saying I'm creating a variable named myBunny, and it's going to be a sprite at 200, 200 is all line 1 is doing. Okay, line 3 sets that sprite's animation block and assigns that animation to that sprite. Okay, in this case, we're using an animation named bunny, which is over here on the right side, and that's going to be added in that animation tab. And instead of just giving it a default name of sprite, we're assigning it to that variable name. So we're saying Okay, we created this variable up here. We created this sprite at 200, 200. Now I want to tell it what sprite is actually going to be there. So I use that same variable and I set its animation to the sprite of bunny, which is this bunny over here. Okay, so that it changes that animation to being a bunny. And then on line 4 or on line 3, number 4 here, the number 4 bubble, because sprites are just values stored as variables, they don't automatically get drawn on the screen. So we have to use this draw sprite block to tell the game lab to draw all the sprites that have been created onto the screen. Okay, so that's what's going on there. So now we're going to go ahead and press continue. So let's click this and press start over. So we're on lesson 6, level 4 here, and it says create sprites, creating sprites. The var sprite equals create sprite creates a new sprite and assigns it to a variable. The default name is sprite, so you want to change it to something more meaningful. Drawing sprites. Sprites only appear on the screen when you draw them there. Calling draw sprites will draw all of your created sprites on that screen. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this program and we're going to add in, okay, because everything's blank, we're going to add in this var sprite equals create sprite at 200, 200 under the comment creating sprites. So if I go to my sprites tab, okay, so click this little red sprites tab here and drag out this var sprite equals create sprite. And I'm going to drag it out and I'm going to put it right underneath here. So we added that in and we left it as var sprite equals create sprite at 200, 200. That's what it wants it to be. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add this draw sprites block under the comment drawing. So I go back to my world tab here and I drop in my draw sprites underneath this drawing one here. Okay. So if we run the code to see our first sprite be drawn, okay, notice that it's going, like I just said, so we drew a square. Notice that it's going to place it at 200, 200. If I turn on my grid, it placed this rectangle at 200, 200, not at 150, 150, which would be where the top left corner is. So regardless of what shape it is, it's getting placed at the center of that object is where our x and y coordinates that we tell it to be drawn at are. Okay, so those are the only 2 blocks that we need to put in there. Go ahead and press finish when you are done with that. Okay, this one says when run, where will the sprite be located? We see it says var my sprite equals create sprite at 300, 100, and then we draw it. We show our grid. Our x coordinate is 300. Our 100 is here. It's going to be placed in the center of where I have my cursor. So that will be option B. Or for me, it's B. I don't know if it's the same for you guys. Okay, so we press run, we press finish. Okay, so we're on lesson 6, level 6 here. So it says debug. This program should create 2 new sprites, one on the left of the screen and one on the right, but it's only drawing one. You don't need to add any code, just rearrange the code already present to make sure that both sprites show up like the picture on the right. What do I need to do to this code in order to fix it? Move the draw sprite to the bottom. Yes, so I take this draw sprite, I move it underneath, I press run, and there's both of my boxes. Okay, so it declares both of the variables, gives them a name, tells us what x and y coordinates we want the center of those sprites to be, and then at the end we choose to draw it. Okay, so we can go ahead and press finish there.
Hi, I'm Aston Motes, and I was the first software engineer hired at Dropbox. I also work with an organization called DevColor. DevColor is a nonprofit that advances the careers of Black software engineers. Sprites make it much easier to organize your code, but visually, they're still just rectangles. To make our creations come to life, we'll want to add images to our sprites. We'll start with a simple program you've seen before that creates a single rectangular sprite. Before we can turn this rectangle into something more fun, we need to tell GameLab about the image we want to use. All images and drawings you add to your project are created and managed in the Animation tab. To switch back and forth between your code and the animations, use a toggle in the upper left corner. To add a new animation, click the plus sign. This will open a library of images that are already built into GameLab. From the library, you can browse the categories to find what you're looking for. Once you've selected an image, it'll be added to your project and shown on the left. If you like, you can also change the name of your image. So, here we've added an image in the Animation tab, and we have code that creates a basic sprite. Now we'll need to put those two together and tell the computer that we want this particular sprite. We'll use the set animation block to do this. First, we'll use the name of our sprite and the name of the image we selected in the Animation tab. Now when we run our program, the sprite will be drawn with the image we selected. All of a sprite's properties can still be modified as usual to do things like moving across the screen. You're not limited to the images that come built into GameLab. You can also choose to upload an image from your computer or draw something yourself. In fact, you can edit any image in the Animation tab using the pixel editor. Using the different commands in the pixel editor, you can easily draw, erase, or modify images. To adjust the dimensions of an image, just make changes in the menu on the right side. It's also just one click to flip your image to face the opposite direction. If you like an image you've made but want to make some changes, just make a copy. There are lots of helpful little tools in the pixel editor. Play around with them on your own and see what they do. Back in your code, the drop-down of animations makes it easy to pick which animation your sprite should use until you find the perfect look. Adding images or your own drawings to sprites lets you unleash your creativity and make your programs really your own. Let's get to it.
All right. So in this one, we talked about what are the steps to adding an image of a sprite or to a sprite, and what are the different ways to get an image. So there's built-in images in GameLab in that Animations tab, and then there's also images that we can add to a sprite using that Animations tab, and we'll go through those here in this next one. All right. So breaking down this Animation tab. So if you don't understand that Animation tab, here is a breakdown of it on Lesson 6, Level 8. Okay, that talks about where we can name things, how we can edit them, resize them, all sorts of different stuff like that. So number 1 is the buttons to switch between the animation and coding tabs. Number 2 here is the column that shows all the animations that we've created, and you can click on an animation to edit it. Number 3 is if we click on this plus, we can add in a new animation and can either select an animation from a library that they've already got, we can bring in an image from our computer, or draw one from scratch. Okay, number 4 here, this number 4 bubble is going to be all the drawing tools that we have that allow you to modify or draw new animations. Okay, number 5 is the draw and edit of our image on this canvas. So this is our canvas right here. So that will show us all of the different edits that we've made, and we can change and alter our sprite in that space. And then number 6 is where you open up that drawer to change the overall size of the image or the canvas that you're creating your sprite on. Okay, so go ahead and press continue after that. Okay, and now we're on lesson 6, level 9. So this one is our where we go to our image. Okay, so on this level it says images. Over on the animations tab, you'll see 3 images that have been loaded for you. So if I go to my animation tab, there's 3 images that are loaded for me. Okay, you've got you can get to the animations tab by clicking animation above the display area. It's right here. Okay, once you've created a sprite, you can use the sprite.setAnimation. Okay, that's this one right here on line 2 to command to change the look of your sprite from a rectangle to any of the pictures that we want that are in our animations tab. All of the images that you've loaded in the animation tab show up in the sprite.set animation dropdown. Okay, any of them that show up in here on this tab here show up in this dropdown on line 2. Okay, the alien is set for you as an example. What we're going to do is we're going to change that sprite from our to whatever favorite image we have on our animations tab. We're going to set a sprite to an image that has already been created for us and run the code to see how it works. And then we're going to change the input to the set animation tab to change the look of the sprite. And we can try out all 3 different images if we'd like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at these here. Okay, I'm going to choose this flybot one. Okay, and I'm going to change my drop down in line 2 to flybot at the end there. And I'm going to press run. So that little flybot shows up. Now, if I wanted to make something different, if I go to my animations tab and click this little plus, I can choose from their list of ones that are already pre-created here. So I like a lot of their ones that they have, especially the ones in their vehicles. They have multiple vehicles to pick from, which are kind of cool, especially the spaceship ones. So I'm going to pick this player ship blue, whatever it's got here, and I'm just going to rename this. I'm going to delete the name out, and I'm going to name it player 1. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my code, and I just added that and typed that in. If I click this drop down here, it's already added in as my set animation in one of my options. I press run, and now it's there. Okay, so you're just going back and forth between your animations tab, adding new ones in, and you can give them their own name, or you can pick ones that are already set, and you just go back to your code and change that last little drop down on line 2 to any of the ones that are added in. Okay, and it'll set it to it, and then you can press run. Okay, so that's just a basic understanding of that animation tab and how those two work together. So you can press finish, or you can come back and mess around with that one later. Okay, but on lesson 6, level 10 here, this is going to be our first start to our continued project that's going to go through all the way to the end. So this is the first one that's going to take a little bit of time. So this first thing that we've got going on here is we've got this scene set up. We've got a sky blue background. We've got our green grass, and then we've got a string attached to what's supposed to be a kite, but it's just a gray box right now because we don't have a sprite being set. There's no image for it to grab from. Because if I look at my variable on line 2, I've just got a variable set to kite, and it's creating a sprite at 350, but it's not actually doing this very, very important line of code, which is under the sprites tab, and it's sprite.set animation. So go to your sprites tab, grab out this sprite.set animation, and drag that under line 2. A lot of times, a good common or a good practice for you would be to have your sprites animations, all of your sprite creation blocks grouped together. Okay, and every single time, what you're going to do is you're going to do that purple block that sets the variable. You're going to name it whatever you want it on that line 2. You're going to tell it where you want it to create that sprite, and then what you're going to do is you're going to set the animation of that sprite. It's going to start out with that same variable name, and then you're going to pick the actual animation that you want to go there, the sprite animation. So let's walk through that. So line 2, we set our variable to kite. We're telling it to create it at the x coordinate 300 and the y coordinate 50. And then on line 3, I need to change where it says sprite. I need to change that to kite, because that's what our variable name is. So what line 3 is saying take the variable kite and set its animation to, and then whatever we have in this drop down box here. Okay, right now it's just animation 1. Well, if I go to my animation tab, I don't have anything. Okay, that's why it says animation 1, because I don't have anything. So what it wants us to do for this lesson is it wants us to go out to the internet and find an image of a kite and upload it to our computer, and then upload it to code.org. So I'm going to go to Google and Google an image of a kite, okay, and go to images, and I'm actually going to Google no background, Okay, kite, no background. And what that's going to do for me is it's going to give me a kite that has no background, okay, or is transparent. Okay, so I'm going to pick this third one here. I'm going to click on it, right click on it, and save that image as, and then it's going to save it as a PNG. I'm going to save it as kite, and I'm going to save it in my pictures, and I'm just going to press save. Okay, and then I go back to my Word. So everybody just take a second and watch here so that you see what's going on, because we all know how to file save as an image from Google. Okay, that shouldn't be that hard. Okay, but in order to get this into code.org, what I need to do is I'm going to go to my animation tab. I'm going to press new, just like I'm adding an animation, and this option that says upload image. Okay, I click upload image, and then I'm going to navigate to where I saved it, which is my pictures. I named it kite. I press open. Just kidding. That's not going to work. We're going to do a different one. Let's try this one. Nope, that one's got a watermark on it. Gross. Let's try this one. Name this one Kite 2. Let's see if that's going to work. Kite 2 maybe. All sorts of not happening. Awesome. Let's just do the one that I did in last class. We're going to do this rainbow kite. Okay. Now, the issue that I have, okay, I'm going to name this. I've got it named rainbowkite.jpg right now. I'm going to camel case name it. So I've got rainbow and then no space and then uppercase the K in kite. And that's how I'm going to leave it. Now I go back to my code, okay, and I click this drop down. Now I can click rainbow kite. Now the issue that I'm going to have is when I press run, it's massive. Okay, first of all, not only that is it massive, but my background's showing up. Okay, so I have to make some changes. I have to go back to my animation tab, and this resize button here that I can use, I need big point here. Okay, make sure that both of these check boxes here on this resize are checked. Okay, this one says maintain aspect ratio. That one's already going to be checked for you. But this second one that says resize canvas content, make sure that checkbox is checked. Okay, then I can resize this width. I'm just going to take it down by 2. I'm going to do width 450, and then it'll keep it. Whoops. I don't know if I actually got it. Nope. Okay, if I change this to 450, I have to click this resize button here. Okay, now I can go back to my code. Let's run it now. Okay, a little bit smaller. Okay, so what I can do now is I'm going to go to my animation tab now that I've got it resized, and I'm going to grab my eraser tool and I'm going to erase out all of this stuff that I don't need. Okay, so from the beginning, I put in this line 3 of code. Then I named it kite.setAnimation. And until you get your image uploaded, this last drop-down box won't matter yet. Okay? Then I go out to Google. I find an image of a kite that'll work. Okay? Or you can just do kite clip art or kite, just name it kite. Okay? And you might have to erase the background. Okay? Just Google kite. Okay? You're going to save it, and then you're going to go back to code.org, go to your animations tab, and then click the plus and click upload image. Okay, after you upload an image, you're going to navigate to where it's at. If it says that it's too big, then you need to find a different image. Okay, so find one that works, and then go ahead and set that animation in your code, and then erase out the background. So I need to get my eraser tool, and I'm erasing my background out with my eraser tool here. And then what that's going to do is if I take a look here at what this is doing to my code, I go back to my code, press run. You'll notice that my background is showing through now because I've erased that part that's showing up. Okay, so do that for your entire kite, your entire background, do that for the entire thing. And then as soon as you're done with that, go ahead and press finish for this level. I'm going to pause this, erase the rest of my background, and then I'm going to press play, and then they'll see the final product.